This is the I Know Podcast, where we're all about healthy debate, honest conversation, and talking beer junk. Information, knowledge, observation. This is the I Know Podcast. I-N-O, information, knowledge, observation. Also, I know nothing. We got Malik Coffee. We got Mosey on the outside. And we have the birthday girl, I guess. Why did you decide to spend your birthday with us?
Yeah,
that is how we know you're doing. Like, you're doing nothing.
Precisely so. You sent me a message yesterday. Like, what are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah, it's true.
Nothing.
It's true. But you're 25 now?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Jeez, on the big 25.
I'm old as hell.
Yeah, you in the new bracket, 25 to 30.
Lord have his mercy. I just feel so old, folks.
Yeah, honestly. But I wanted you back on because you had the most eventful year like out of anybody that I could think of. So we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about enough things. Jeez, where to start? How was the feedback from your last podcast?
I didn't really notice anything that different. I guess maybe most of my circles didn't quite watch INO, even though I would have like blasted it out to them and be like, oh, I was on this podcast.
Yeah, I doubt they would have.
But I didn't really notice any spike in popularity.
That being said, like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh, I saw da-da-da. Yeah. But no, seriously, I've been telling my friends, there's some interesting stuff going on, because I even, after my episode, I went and I followed, so I see stuff on Instagram and what have you. But yeah, 2018, because I think we actually did the episode as 2018 started.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. It was January, right.
Right.
So, and then right after that,
bear shite happened.
I don't know the politically correct way of saying that you get chopped up.
That was basically it.
You get chopped up.
I had my face slashed. Basically, at the time, I had a tenant living with me who was down on his luck, and an ex of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you help this guy out?" And I said, "Okay, no problem." That was like almost a year ago, and shortly after that podcast, things started going downhill. His behavior was not the most cooperative.
After the podcast?
Yeah, well, it wasn't because of the podcast. It was just shit that started happening.
Oh, coincidentally,
after. Exactly. Right. And I just got fed up, and I was like, look, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. Either you shape up or you ship out. And he decided to ship out, but he decided to take some of my stuff with him. And I was like, this isn't happening. You need to bring my stuff back.
Wait, hold on a minute. Did he do anything to you because of, like, I don't know,
who you are?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. I don't try to speculate anything. But I know there was some hostility that started to brew because he thought that he was going to get away with certain things, and I'd sit there quietly, and I'm not that sort of a person. So, whatever was running through his mind, the moment that attack happened, I don't know. I don't care. But at the end of the day, I had to deal with it how I had to deal with it. So ultimately, what happened, he had a girlfriend who was visiting from overseas, and, there were certain things that were going on that she was not comfortable with. She tried to reach out to me. I tried to assist, and everything was backfiring. And then with his behavior getting even worse, I said, look, I gotta get myself out of this situation. So either y'all fix what y'all dealing with, or just get it from me altogether.
He was being abusive to her or something?
Not physically, but emotionally.
Oh, okay.
So, and there were a number of occasions, even during the time that we were doing the podcast, where she was calling me from overseas, half the time crying beside herself.
Because of stuff that he said?
Because of stuff that he was doing and throwing in her face.
Okay.
And, I found it very sucky, because it was like, he ain't walking away. He basically freeloading off of me, and I'm a very patient person. He's also freeloading off of her because she's wiring money to him, and when she actually came with a duffel bag full of shit. So, and he's, just being a bastard towards her. And I was telling her, look, you really don't need this sort of foolishness, because it's like, he's clearly not interested in doing anything to better himself. I'm, showing him various vacancies. I actually was trying to get a contact of mine to line up a job for him, and he just wasn't interested.
So again, what is the relationship between you and him?
A friend of a friend?
Well, yeah, a friend of a friend. Well, more than a friend of a friend.
Oh, okay.
But between me and him, it was just, okay, you're occupying my spare bedroom. I share the house with you.
So it's more a favor for somebody.
It was a favor for somebody. Exactly.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into too many details, but there was some questionable stuff going on. So ultimately,
we got time.
What questionable stuff?
I'll put it in a sentence. He was fucking my ex, or rather the other way around. So yeah. You see, that's why I didn't want to go into them sort of
So, but why would you still like reach out a hand?
I didn't know. No, I did not know until sometime after, and I just sat down and I said, look, you know what, people get curious. They're gonna do certain things. Blah 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 blah.
So you're bisexual.
That's what I honestly believe, because I was later made to understand. I was told of one incident, but then after the attack, I was told of multiple encounters, and I just sat down and said, look, people are going to do what they want. You have itches to scratch. He's miles away from his girlfriend, and it wasn't just my ex that he was screwing around with, but another young lady who was coming to my house as well. And, there was even a moment where I walked in on them, and I was like, okay, this is more than I can handle. Right. So...
Get to the part where he
so all of that shit put aside, it had her upset. I was realizing she wasn't happy, and I was trying to put things in such a way that they could sit down and talk it out. He wasn't having any of it, and she's still beside herself, and I said, look, you know what, I'm done with this. I can't do anything more, but I am not willing to sit here and just let this situation continue, just like this. So either you all take the initiative and do something right away, or one could clear out from around me. So they chose the latter option. By the time I came home, all their stuff was packed, the room was empty. And then I, decided, all right, well, let me take stock, because they didn't even tell me that they were deciding to leave. I just sent the message and came home hours later. So when I realized, a mobile phone is missing, some clothing is missing, all kinds of, and then I realized my
clothing
keys.
Clothing is missing from you?
Yeah. So clothing that he would have taken up from my room and so on.
How big is this guy?
Well, he's skinny as fuck, so I don't know. I'm 200 and something pounds. So everything.
So what are you doing with your clothes?
Smelling them?
No, they're not like this attire. Like my home clothes, t-shirts and slippers and that kind of shit.
Anyway, I don't think slippers cool. I kind of get that vibe, but a t-shirt.
Well, it turns out he just steals because he can. To the point where literally the very cleaver that he attacked me with, he stole from my kitchen drawer. But I did not realize that until the day after the attack. I was like, that blade looked very familiar. And when I got in my kitchen and I opened...
Wait, your panties was missing too or no?
I don't think so.
I just want to know how much days he thief.
Well, let me tell you, he'd have a hard time filling them because my ass bigger than the back of a Mercedes.
Wow. This is me in a pocket.
I didn't even get back to the make right now.
Let's just play. And the reason why they abolish road taxes, too much back taxes to collect because I'm walking down the sidewalk.
Well, apparently. Back to the meat
fast forward to the thing. So now, this has been a couple of days because it was Valentine's Day that I had to put my foot down, and they decided to leave. And I was like, all right, fuck it. They're at my house. I have my house back. I have my peace. I don't have to worry about, sharing nothing. And then I have my own personal rules that I had to put aside. So I'm like, okay, I can do what I want in my house now.
And then you were trying to cut a chicken and you realized, well, your knife's gone.
No. What happened was Saturday evening, because I was also going through some shit at work, and I do this thing where, because I have a car, it doesn't work, but it's there, and sometimes I would just get in the car, close the door, and sit down there in the silence. So I'm sitting there in the car, and my phone buzzes, and when I check, it's the girlfriend now messaging me, and she's like...
The girlfriend
that came from overseas.
Right. She came from overseas?
Yeah, she flew in from Canada. Oh, I meant to put out him, but she decided to go with him.
All right, cool. Okay, all right, cool. I thought it was saying it was another girl.
No, I was like, to y'all, even because I understood what she was going through, and it was my expectation that if he decided to leave, he would have left and she would have stayed, because she was only there for a week and some.
Right.
So, but she decided to go with him. Stupid bitch. Anyways, right. So, she then comes to me and she's basically beside herself. She's upset. She's now realizing things that she had suspected and that I was trying to alert her to. She's now finding out for herself and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, but I was trying to tell you all this and you decide to take his word over mine. I don't sit down and try to bust up relationships. Because I understood when he first came there, he was talking all over his face about how he wanted to have a child with her and everything. And she had her concerns. And I'm somebody, if you want to put that sort of effort into the relationship, go for it. I'm not some bitter person that because I ain't seeing nobody can see anybody. Do what you want to do. But, she's now realizing everything that was turning out to be true, and she's regretting. I said, look, I never had any beef with you. I just did not like that. You knew something wasn't right, and you're just letting him walk all over you. If it is you want to leave him and come back with me, because it was only supposed to be a few more days, you're welcome to do so, but I don't want him around my house. So she said, okay, later this evening, we're going to walk XYZ friend of his home who lives not too far from my house. So on the way, I'll just drop back and talk to you. I said, no problem. At the same time, there's some stuff that you left behind, so I'm going to gather those together and give back to you. This was 10 o'clock in the evening. Me being a night owl, I'm up until like 4:15 midnight, and I see them walking past. So I greet them. I wasn't hostile or anything. I just greeted them. Hi, everybody. How you doing? And I just see, he just picks up pace and keeps walking like he doesn't want anything to do with me. I said, you shouldn't be moving so fast because you got some things belonging to me and I got some shit belonging to you. So you want to take this stuff from me or what? And he continues walking. So in hindsight, it was a dumb move. I approached him and I said, hey, I have these things. I literally had the things in a plastic bag. I have these things belonging to you. And he goes, if you don't keep off of me, you can get beat bad tonight. I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? My man swings around, big square bladed cleaver in his hand. And I, trying to do something to defend myself. But I was so caught off guard with this huge knife. Even his girlfriend runs up. And she's like, baby, no, don't do this. But he just didn't care. Whatever he had on his mind, he was going to do it. He don't care who he hurt. So he made the first slash, and I got the scar on my forehead. Made another one, cut my nose. Literally, this section was hanging off of my nose.
Wow.
And, at one point, she tries to stop him, and he swung again, missed me, and hit her. So she has a cleft lip now.
Wow.
And he just decides to go. He literally went ham on it. So I, got a scar on my neck. I got this scar. My glasses, these are new glasses, literally got sliced in half off my face. One lens, the first slice actually cut the left lens in half. And I don't know how the hell it was that I avoided getting my throat cut open or my spine cut.
Yeah,
all I know is that I was rolling, I was screaming, I was trying to grab at him to disarm him. However it happened, he didn't get any mortal wounds in. I spent like a week with stitches in my nose and my forehead, everything else healed up on its own. And cool and calm, he just gets up and walks off. Cool,
with
just
his
like that.
Girlfriend?
Well, he walked off, but his friend was now realizing his girlfriend's mouth is bleeding. She's calling around, does anybody have alcohol? Does anybody have cotton?
Wow.
Literally like 4:15 midnight.
I feel like this is an alcohol wound, though.
yeah.
Well, we didn't know. I just heard cling, which was when the blade hit her teeth. So I'm thinking, shit. I'm thinking, shit, she's got like a Glasgow smile or something. Hours later, she sends me a WhatsApp message. She's like, I come to visit a strange country, and now I have to go back home because she has an 8-year-old son. I have to go back home to my son with this. What am I supposed to tell him now? I'm like, tell him the truth that his potential stepfather is a psychotic bastard.
Why is she messaging you?
That is crazy, though.
That's the thing. So, of course, I don't know. I have this weird way of keeping my composure. I picked up myself, grabbed up what I could off of the ground being my glasses, went inside. I had the Oyston's police station's number in my phone directory, so I called them. And I let them know what happened. So the woman, I think it was the station sergeant, she asked me, did you call the ambulance? I said, no, you already first called that's going on. And she says, okay, call the ambulance and then, sort out something. So I called the ambulance and they said, we're not coming there until the police secure the place because we don't know if this lunatic can come and chop we up now. So we go to the police station because the doctor filled out the medical report that they wanted her to fill out. And we go to the police station and I asked, have you all had any luck in catching this guy? Because I'm now concerned for my safety. And the police are there saying, oh, we haven't caught him yet. I'm like, why the hell not? It's been more than 12 hours. And I still can't get an answer. And then I'm told the officer who would have responded, he's off shift. So they couldn't even take a statement from me. I would have had to come back later that night. And I just kick up a stink because I'm like, I just have my face cut up. I spent 12 hours plus in A&E. I've come back here. Y'all haven't even told me if it's going to be safe for me to go back home. I don't even know if this lunatic is going to be there waiting.
You changed your locks?
No, but I did put on a security system on the house.
Okay.
So, all this stuff is going on. It turned out that where I thought that the keys had not been returned, they had left the keys behind. But you're right, there is that concern of if my keys were copied. But a mad-ass bitch like me, I just don't piss me off. So, all of that happened. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to go back home, try to get some rest. I'm thinking, I think I slept that night, the Sunday night, but then the next day, his girlfriend now gets really pissed off because this is when I started speaking out. I'm like, the police don't seem to be doing anything because there was a case years back where somebody was stabbed and found lying in a neighbor's yard, and before they even got that guy into the ambulance, they had his attacker in handcuffs. So I'm like, what's so different about my case? They both happened after dark, One guy, they were able to go to the house immediately and pick him up. I had 3 police cars and forensics outside my house, and they're more focused on, and they're telling them what's happened. I'm perfectly lucid and not passing out, nothing like that. I did my own first aid. So, why is it that they couldn't literally just go around the corner and pick up the guy?
You think it was like a just a hiccup kind of thing on the police part, or was it
I've had
intentionally?
experiences where they have been very unprofessional with any situation I brought to them, whether it's assault, whether it's vandalism. I had a case where a car got damaged outside my house. It was my car parked in my driveway, and somebody went and vandalized it. And up to now, the police, haven't been able to investigate the matter properly and close it. And this is like nearly 3 years ago. I've since repaired the car, sold it as different vehicles out there. And then the general attitude that I have dealt with police officers, sergeants, and constables, it just led me to it has brought me to the point where it's like, these guys are not taking me seriously. And I remember I had to barge in there a couple days after and say, it seems as though y'all aren't going to take this matter seriously until I'm either found unresponsive or dead. So I really tore the sergeant in particular a new one. And at one point, she got rather transphobic. She said, I don't know what this person's problem is. And some officer said, oh, that's the man. Well, he, she, whatever it is, I don't care. They have a problem. And that was caught on. I had my phone recording everything. So, because I don't trust these officers.
Can you, like, from the very beginning, walk us through the hormones, how hormone therapy works and stuff?
Well,
what it's trying to do? What is the goal?
There are various methods of hormone therapy. You can either have injections, which are rather rare here, or you can have the oral method, which is where you take a tablet. Depending on which doctor you go to and what brand of medication you use, the dosage may vary and the method may vary. Mine is done totally independent, aside from the doctor being registered here. So all of my tests and everything were done overseas. The medications are imported. And basically, it for me, it just brings my body more into alignment with how I see it. So there are certain changes that I would have expected to happen that didn't happen, thankfully. And, there are other changes that started happening but didn't happen. And
so changes like what that you expected to happen?
Well, there's certain changes in terms of like body shape and whatnot. I'm not going to go into too many details.
Oh, okay.
But there's certain body shape characteristics that come into play.
Okay.
In my case, I would have had them for some time, but they were not quite fully there. And because basically my body doesn't quite work as most people would expect. So when I had the hormone testing done, they realized, okay, your estrogen levels are far higher than they should be. And your testosterone levels are far lower than they should be. Have you had any type of surgery or anything done? No.
Oh, so that's naturally how you are?
Yeah,
Okay, that's interesting.
Basically, I have had reason to believe I may be intersex, or what people call a hermaphrodite, because of how my hormone levels have been and how my body has developed over the years. So,
but isn't that like an organ thing too? Like your function? I thought it was you ain't got both.
It can take a number of different forms. It can be chromosomal, so you may have like a third chromosome. So we have double X or double XY. You can have double XY, which is usually sometimes the most common form, where people don't realize it until something happens later on. And then you may have, certain glands are more prominent than others, because everybody produces both estrogen and testosterone. But men would produce more testosterone because of the testicles, women produce more estrogen because of the ovaries. But there are still other glands like the pituitary glands and others that will produce, both hormones.
Yeah, words and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very sciencey. So, in my case, I'm like, okay, I know there's a pituitary problem, but, a pituitary situation, because it's not a problem for me. But
pituitary is growth, right? That's a growth.
That's like some gland in your brain. But what about the rest of my body? Because I'm realizing certain changes that most young men would have expected to go through, I did not have happen, and certain changes that people would expect some young women to go through, I have gone through. So, for example, my voice has always been like this: no vocal training, no acting, nothing like that. You could wake me up in the dead of the night with a phone call, and when I answer, I might sound a little bit hoarse, but this is the voice.
So this is how you were. This is how you sounded before, before transitioning.
During school.
When you were like Gavin.
Yeah.
Well, that's strange.
Yeah, I actually thought about that today. So.
Yeah, because I was, the lowest I ever went was an alto and choir, and it was only to supplement. So, say if one of the altos had to bob out for any reason, then they know, okay, I could put my voice a little lower so I can go into that range, but normally I was in the soprano range. So, I because this is how I identify myself as a woman, and I would want my body to be more feminine and so on. I've been researching hormone therapy for years, but I only finally got up the nerve to decide, let me go and make that investment. Let me go through that process, because there are various risks depending on the method, because most people use the birth control method because of a chemical called ethinyl estradiol. Based on the research that I've done on ethinyl estradiol, I'm very much against it because of how it's acquired. Literally, they take the urine of a pregnant mare and distill it for the estrogen.
Mare?
Yeah, a pregnant horse. So basically, they distill the estrogen out of it and use that in medications. So when your girlfriend is taking birth control pills like microgynon and Premarin and Logynon, she's taking a horse piss pill. Basically. And that's why you will find that some young women, when they're on birth controls, their bodies are going a little crazy, because even though it's estrogen, not all of it the body can work with.
I was about to ask, like, that I don't know anything about biology. It was never my science. But I don't think horse's estrogen and human's estrogen is the same vibe.
No, it's structurally different.
Right, I figured.
But because it's the easiest and cheapest acquired, and
that's why birth control is cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then too, when you realize, some women, they complain, oh, I'm feeling a little funny, I'm having these sort of side effects and whatnot. It's because their body is trying to process the remainder of that, as I put it, horse piss estrogen, and it can't quite manage with it, so it's going to have a reaction.
That actually makes
sense. And I was on it from November till a good while. And it had me going through the roof. Like I said, I was in a PMS state most of the time, so you don't know if I am going to, go off and start hollering at you. Not like I'm volatile, but, I might get a bit irritable and be like, all right, you know what, stop. You starting to annoy me. And that whole thing, you just show up in the room. And then there are moments where, something might pass through my mind. So, like, both my parents are deceased. I might think of them and all of a sudden just start crying for no reason. There was even a point where I got hit with baby fever. So, like, I have a maternal instinct from all the time, but since starting hormones, it heightened. And it got to a point where, you're in your mid-20s, your biological clock is ticking, and your maternal instinct heightens. And it got to a point where one day I was walking to work, and I passed the daycare center. I see all these kids out in the yard playing, and I can hear their voices, and I realized I was starting to cry, and I'm trying to keep my composure, and I'm not paying attention to where I'm stepping, and I nearly tripped and fell because I'm trying not to cry.
I thought I was going to say step on a child.
I
really want to know that service.
You need one of you.
Yeah, so it had me in a good mess.
What was your goal?
My goal is, I don't even know. I mean, I have an idea of how I would like to see myself. But I've never really put much thought into how I would want to look at the end of the hormone therapy.
I can't imagine how much of that could be attributed to just hormones. Is like, wouldn't diet or exercise take a role in it as well?
Well, here's the funny thing. Hormones do impact on your diet, because one of the first things that started happening was that I started gaining weight. And I did not even notice it. I was just going about my day because I didn't feel heavy or anything. I would never forget, I went on a lunch break and I just ran down to the gas station to get something. And this young lady, she knew me from somewhere, but I can't quite remember her face. She comes up behind me, and the next thing you know, I feel a hand on my ass. And then she's like, "You ass getting big, Lex." I'm like, what the fuck? And I didn't even, and then I realized, a lot of people had been commenting who knew me from before. They were commenting my behind was getting larger. And I'm there looking in the mirror like, I don't see anything different.
So for the girls that box, he's flat about getting bigger. Yeah, apparently.
It's entirely up to them. Apparently. I mean, other things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
But
you've never noticed that.
Well,
that's a thing. Like
me gain weight or specifically
there are people that
get bigger.
Take birth control to gain weight.
Right. But I mean specifically, like your butt get bigger.
I can show you a girl
for some it's a little more.
That boss retarded. No,
she's on birth control for sure.
She wasn't really. She wasn't like stupid flat.
Look, why gonna start?
But no, she's a formidable foe.
But she was for sure. She was taking birth control.
Yeah. We spoke about it.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask you about Would you ever think about like plastic surgery and all that too, or no?
It has crossed my mind, because the age that I started at, 23 going on 24, most resources say that when you start to hit 25, that's when the effectiveness of hormones starts to taper off. So there may be some changes that are going to happen easier than others, and depending on how I feel, if I decide, you know what, my breasts aren't big enough, maybe I'll consider having surgery. But then knowing a lot of the complications with breast implants, they may leak, they may do this, they may move around, you know. There was one point where breast implants were having recalls done, and I'm like, what?
Recalls?
Yeah.
Like what? Like,
It's a manufactured product, you know.
How fast is that about Bobby?
what is that? What?
Get real. Listen to me. There are women with breast implants, and each breast has a serial number.
What?
Yes.
All right, come on, Alexa.
I'm dead serious. I am dead serious because you have the
You're
silicone.
talking about MSRP, no?
You have the. Yeah, you.
I got a barcode.
You have no idea.
I don't understand.
Listen, it's just like if you got a car and you want put in, and you want put on a lift kit, you gotta buy the parts and then take it to the workman and get them put in. And if something go wrong, you gotta go and take back out and replace it.
I thought
Somebody man gotta replace them.
I just assumed cosmetic surgery on the breast is just like pump it with fat from your.
That is one way you can do it. You can redistribute fat and put it up
right,
there.
so that's not going to.
And that's one thing because I have a fairly sizable gut here, so it's like, okay, I don't like this silicone thing because they might put something wrong in the chemical mixture and it could poison my body, or I don't like saline because if say I got a man that a little too freaky, he might bite and burst something.
Okay.
Right.
And we're back. Okay, so you were telling about
so the
sex change and misconceptions.
People sit
right?
down and they think that a trans woman chops off her penis. That is
right.
not.
You see thing where it's like it get cut in half and then it get like invert and then it get,
That's exactly what happens.
the video where you see like these.
No, I didn't
the second
see
knife
this thing.
To put it crudely, it's more or less turned inside out. So what would be the shaft of your penis? Of course, all of the muscle is removed and the skin is inverted to become the vaginal canal. What would be the glands of the penis?
Canal?
Yes.
The skin of
you
a
have
penis
your
becomes a canal?
vulva, which is the pussy that y'all like to look at. And then that passage.
I know what you mean. I just don't understand how.
And then the passage that you all like to push into, that is basically your canal leading up to the cervix and the uterus. And
I can't imagine the skin becoming the canal.
Well, again, I can
because
get to
it's
that
not
in
a
a
cavity.
minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a little complicated. And then basically, of course, you have the opening of the cervix where the woman feels a lot of sensation if you go all the way in. That is basically made from the glands of the penis.
So you still feel sexual pleasure?
Yes, you will.
I just always I don't
But then again, it depends on the
patients.
patients. There's some that, because I actually have a friend that she went through it and she explained to me that when she finished her recovery and she had sex for the first time, it felt strange because now everything where she would have felt things in certain places, they were now being felt in different places.
Yeah,
so
it reverse, yeah,
That makes sense to me.
and not only that, because she would have expected to feel this in a particular area, and now it's in like a completely different area. So that sort of thing. And then depending on the surgeon and what method they use, because this same friend, she said she went to a gynecologist just to check to make sure she wasn't going to have any urinary tract infections, and the doctor decides, oh well, I'm going to do a quick checkup in there to see what's going on. And then she realizes, wait a minute, why don't I see a uterus? Thought that the woman had a hysterectomy. She said, no, I'm transsexual, I've had the surgery. And had her completely blown away because she was not expecting to find that. Everything to her appeared to be as if she had a hysterectomy. Exactly. There's some surgeries that will come out as perfectly as that. Others may not come out, I should really say typically. Others may not come out as typically as that. It all depends on the patient and what method is used.
Like you might not want that might not be the goal.
How you mean?
You say it depends on the patient.
It depends on the patient in terms of their body.
Okay,
in terms
cool.
of their body.
I get you.
Because, for example, and I'm going to go into some really graphic details.
Serious question a minute. Size makes a difference.
I was about to talk about that. Size does make
My
a
mouth
difference
finished your drink.
because it will influence on the method of surgery that you do.
Sight.
So, for, let's say...
That is the best time to have a small dick because it got
Actually, you're wrong. You're wrong.
So not a small dick.
If it is that, okay, for example, if a trans woman has a 9-inch penis, her surgery is actually going to be cheaper and less invasive than a trans woman who may have, like, say, a 4 or 5-inch penis. Because there's less flesh that they need to harvest to make the vaginal canal.
Harvest.
Yeah, because you got to take flesh and do something
I'm
with
still
it.
trying to imagine, like, how are you making the vagina is technically a hole. How are you making that from skin?
Basically, there's an
Right,
instrument called
like
a stent. It looks almost like a dildo. So they will basically, when they invert it, they're going to put the stent in there that it holds the shape.
But where does it go?
And then the skin goes around the stent, and then must they pull it out. Kind of like they make a mold of it.
Basically, when they, as you said, they would have cut it in half. So they would remove something called the cavernum, the Capernaum cavernosa or something like that. Basically, the erectile tissue that engorges when you get hard. So they're going to take that out because she don't need that anymore.
Another question. Am I limited by biology experience? Mm-hmm. Like, I just understand, I could be very wrong, that a penis is pretty much a big clit.
More or less, because the same way how a clitoris is full of nerve endings,
right,
the glands of the penis is full of nerve endings.
I'm assuming that the new clit becomes the old penis head? How does that work?
Basically, a portion of the glands becomes the clitoris, and the remainder becomes basically what would be the opening of the cervix, where she's going to feel all that sensation.
So wait, where the balls go? The garbage?
They're gone.
Oh, say
garbage.
What do you have?
Right for them? Do you want to be?
She may decide to donate her testicles if, say, someone has a testicular cancer and needs a transplant or whatever.
Testicle transplants.
Something.
They got testicle transplants.
They transplant organs for various reasons. So.
I read some. I don't want to quote because I read it a while ago. But I read
let's put it this way.
Recently.
If you have testicular cancer and you lose a testicle, okay, and the other one may be aspermatic, so you shoot in blanks when you have sex, and he might decide, you know what, I want to have kids, I want to be able to produce sperm, then somebody who, let's say someone died in an accident and they donate their organs, I believe they're going to harvest the testicles to use in a later transplant.
Yeah, the first ever penis transplant was this year.
Kidneys and all that there. So, anyways, it's going to be... I apologize to everybody. Most people have a lot of questions. To most of my friends, I promised to myself that I wasn't going to, but I realized people do not understand as fully as they should, so I got to take the blows.
I'm not going to lie, because I don't give it two thoughts because I just...
That's not you.
I never really had a reason to. Mm-hmm. I honestly thought, you just chop off your penis.
No.
And live life. So when you mentioned that, I never gave it two thoughts. But I just thought, all right, cool, that's what you want. So when you said that you could feel sexual pleasure like that,
yeah, it's full the penis and all kind of things.
You saw real experience, man.
I don't know, but yeah.
it's not some covert science. You can go and look it up. So like Marcus explained that there was a video. There are plenty of videos. There are 3D models, and then there's the actual. Video, Well, I actually saw the actual thing where it was performed on a patient. So you saw when they cut this and they.
Olympus? You see that thing? Where is going to watch that? Like how you get?
Just access? Google it. Google it.
Oh, you mean YouTube? Tell me a live.
I you went there.
Well, there are various places where they have this thing, but ultimately, I mean, and the procedure takes like 6 hours. Sometimes it takes 6 hours, sometimes it takes less. It depends on the method. This size math thing, that's where I was talking about. Right. So, for a woman who has a 4, 5, or 6 inch penis, not really that big. Basically, especially, let's say a black woman or a woman who dates black men, typically things are a bit bigger. She may want to be able to accommodate that size. So, of course, you gotta try to figure, okay, how are we gonna get the vaginal canal to be that deep enough that it can accommodate something like that without causing her much injury?
Well, by the way, the cavity, what is being removed to have the cavity there? Because I feel like you got things
Where does the penis go?
Yeah, I got things I need here.
Well, you basically have a cavity in your body called the inguinal canal.
If you say
so. Basically, when men get cold, you hear about how men get cold and their balls kind of retract into their body. Yeah. So they're retracting into that space. Exactly. Yes. So when you take out, the muscle tissue and everything, you basically created a bit more space.
Pause. You just say you thought that the balls get small?
Boy, I just thought it was to get smaller.
No, they don't shrink.
I have four more, right? A slight tangent. There's a game that came out recently called Red Dead Redemption 2. That when it gets cold, the horse, they literally says in the articles, the horse's balls shrink. We're just solidify the fact when your balls shrink.
Funny, man.
I had no idea.
They're not shrinking. They're just retracting, and the scrotum is hardening and contracting to keep them from dropping back out because it's cold out there. So they want to get where it's warm.
But if you want to finish your thought about how these size things
work. Yeah. Here's where it's gonna get a little bit disgusting for some people, but some of us no. Some of us it's gonna sound disgusting, but trust and believe it's not quite as disgusting as it sounds. basically you have your penile inversion, which we just discussed.
Yeah.
Right,
And then there's
exactly.
something called a sigmoid graft. So I know you're not too good on biology. Basically, in the case of a woman with a shorter penis, obviously the flesh that's going to make up the shaft of her penis is not going to be that deep enough. So they need to obtain more flesh that can extend that distance.
So then take flesh from your breast and then.
No.
Oh.
This is where they are going to do a second surgery to extract a portion of your sigmoid colon. So they basically cut a portion of your colon out, put the rest of it back together. Of course, they're going to sanitize and do what they need to, so there's no
I feel like
there's no like
that's not
bacteria.
vagina, though.
Yeah, that's a colon pussy.
Yeah.
That's not the same. That is
You
not
see,
the same
that's
thing.
why I said
That
it's
is
going
not
to
the
get
same.
graphic.
Do posts women? Let me say what?
Well,
I was ready to funny words to say that.
but in the case, there is some wetness that happens, but it's from what I've researched. In the case of the sigmoid colon, they get a bit wetter.
Wait, what though?
So the colon vagina gets
because
wetter?
the sigmoid colon has certain glands that secrete a lubricant. Hence, when you're defecating, it can pass through easily.
What is the difference?
So those
go
cells
ahead.
having those glands, of course, there's no fecal matter because it would have been cleaned and everything. So it's not like, oh, your pussy smells stink. But it's gonna be a case where those glands are getting blood flow, they're gonna lubricate. And so, when sex occurs, it's going to be lubricated, and some men say that it doesn't feel any different. And then, of course, there's some, like any other woman, there will be some issue of dryness, so there will be some lubrication, that some additional lubrication is going to be needed.
So the vagina juice would be rectal juice, replacement rectal juice.
To put it that, well, it's not necessarily like what comes out of your sigmoid colon was meant specifically for that. It's just general.
Yeah, I guess true.
It's general lubrication.
But the juice I use for my rectum.
Yeah, that's a stool, B.
Listen, it's
That's-
pretty much the same sort of lubrication that you will find in your esophagus, that when you swallow it, you don't feel everything dragging down your throat going down there. It just goes down.
So
Like you-
so
You
basically
study
like
biology,
saliva.
like clearly.
You have to.
she
Well,
don't study
I
this
know
thing,
biology
though.
is, but I have to do the research.
Yeah, you gotta do research on yourself.
Because especially, if you're gonna go through, because some people may choose to go through the sigmoid colon graft because, it gives them that ability to lubricate during sex, or, they may have no other option. They just don't have a big enough penis to make a full vaginal canal, so they're gonna have to harvest from somewhere.
This is
The only problem...
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought I knew. Sorry, I don't know.
The only problem with the sigmoid graft is that A, it's more expensive because obviously there's more surgery.
yeah.
Exactly. And B, your recovery time is longer because you have to watch for a complication called a fistula, which is where tissues of a particular kind are going to try to fuse. So if your vaginal canal is too close to your colon, they're going to try to fuse.
So you still will come with your vagina?
Well, I have not known of any such cases like that. But if it does happen, they're going to have to go back.
If it does happen,
When I say if it does happen, I mean if the fistula happens, they're going to have to go back in, undo everything, seal back off.
Dog.
So, but thankfully, the risk of that is exceedingly rare. I mean, very rare.
All
It's
right,
just
cool.
something that they realize, okay, this could happen, but usually medical technology and whatnot, they make sure it doesn't happen like that.
And again, you said it like, for example, a vagina will have a smell. The smell is usually what? Seeing that it's not, you said it doesn't smell like fecal matter or whatever.
I honestly don't know. I don't go about smelling vagina.
Yeah, how would she know? She just goes.
I thought you that was your
don't
research
know.
too.
How would you describe a smell, B?
No, but we know vagina's gonna smell though. Come on, now,
Yeah,
Kofi.
I'm not saying no,
Right,
but
so I'm asking what does the other one smell? What is the
How would you
what is
describe
the
it?
what is the colon thing smell?
you ever
Like?
like hear how people describe vaginas and they smell a vagina, B?
A vagina smell like
Exactly.
the mother be. Somebody tell me that smell like the mother. I don't know what that means, but like the earth. That's what I heard.
I'm sorry, Rasta, man. You breathing.
Me, I don't know.
I am so sorry.
I want to get into your rant that you had the other day. What was it about? Because I wanted to watch it. But
I had plenty around. Which one? You mean the live video that I did?
Yeah, you had one.
Right. So this was on because there have been some stories coming out where trans women, they're talking about their relationships with heterosexual men, how society wants to sit down and say, oh, that man can't be straight if he's seeing someone who used to be male or who is still anatomically male. And then there are other stories that have come out where trans women have talked about going to events and being kicked out of parties, but yet the man who would have hosted the party later wants to hook up with them. So, I felt like I had to put in my 2 cents because for me,
the majority... Local or is it international?
Pardon?
Local or international?
Mostly international.
Okay, cool.
But because I have experienced certain situations because for me, the majority of the men that I've dated are heterosexual. They either have, kids already. There was a case where he was married. I'm going to admit to that. There are all these situations. So they lead a heterosexual life. And, for whatever reason, they may be curious or they just decide, I believe all women are beautiful. I see you as an attractive woman. So there's a bit of an anatomical difference and we'll work around it. Whatever drives a man attraction drives his attraction. Mm-hmm. But simply because he gets into bed with someone who was anatomically male at some point or another in their life does not mean that he is gay. Okay? It doesn't. Here's the thing, and this is where people are getting confused. We're confusing sexual behavior with sexual orientation.
I think you actually touched on this when last time you were
podcast. Yes, we
did. So let me... Something for you?
What?
Autogynephile, I think?
Gynephilia.
Oh,
so,
I don't know what I was just saying.
Right. So basically, to look at sexual orientation, this is who you're emotionally, spiritually, intellectually attracted to, okay? And how you see that, and then it is basically which sex or gender you're most attracted to.
Right.
So you guys as heterosexuals, you're attracted to women, you're attracted to femininity, the feminine wiles, how women think and so on. You're also attracted to the figure. So for someone like me, I've got big hips, a fairly big behind, a D-sized bra, all of that there. My makeup is well done. I carry myself a certain way. There are going to be men that they're going to look as heterosexual men. They're attracted to femininity and the feminine graces, and they're going to go, oh, she's kind of pretty,
Right.
And they may not know that I'm transgender. There are going to be some that, they'll take an interest, and I go, stop. This is really what's up. So when clothes come off, certain things are not going to happen like they should.
Right.
We entertain a relationship. There are no kids going to be coming out of this. So I want to know, are you okay with this? And he may decide, that's not a problem. I see you as a very attractive woman. You're someone, that I feel comfortable around. And so I'm interested, And, the relationship may continue. And the relationship ends and he may go with another woman and he may, remember the experiences that we have and he may not see anything that much different between the two other than, what was going on in bed and what would have been happening after. But
So again, you're saying that those people would be seen as straight men. They are heterosexual.
Men. They're straight. Because they're attracted to femininity.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not denying. First, let me go on this. I'm not denying anything you're saying. Mm-hmm. But there are, I don't know, but it's butch butch lesbians. Like, let me say
masculine lesbian.
Is that the term?
I thought masculine lesbian. Okay, well, we normally call them stud lesbians.
Studs. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So like I don't want to say regular lesbian, though. A feminine lesbian.
Yeah, we can say a feminine lesbian.
A feminine lesbian attracted to a stud.
Right.
Doesn't that mean she's attracted to masculinity?
Well, there's a slight shift with that because while there's a certain behavior that a stud lesbian exhibits, at the end of the day, they're still going to accept their body as being, female, being feminine. So they're going to go through their periods and admit, yes, I have a period. I don't want to have surgery. I just want to act a little macho. I see myself as one of the boys, but not to the point where it is, I identify as a man. I just behave like one of the boys.
I just want you to acknowledge I feel like a lot of, I don't want to call it hate. A lot of the confusion stems from just general ignorance.
Yeah, because people are understanding a particular behavior emulating a certain gender versus a gender identity.
Well, me and Marcus was sitting here on the sound kind of start of what you saying. The average Joe
All right, let me put it another way. You have a gay man who may wear lipstick and he may wear a handbag.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, he may wear a blouse that's a bit frilly. But at the end of the day, he's going to consider himself a man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Whereas with me, my entire wardrobe has changed. I've legally changed my name. I'm going through medical procedures. You know, my end point is to live my life as a woman, not as to live my life as a feminine man. One is how I see myself in the world as a woman and as a female, in spite of what my anatomy is. And the other one is I have this behavior, but I don't really identify as that particular way.
I want to paint this scenario, right? Okay. There is you, Alexa, and a gay man. No name may come. Both of y'all wear the same dress size, same shoe size. He wears a wig, but he's a gay man and you're a trans woman. When Joe Brown meets gay man and Alexa, in that moment he doesn't know that you're a trans woman. He's a gay man. So is he less straight for liking gay man more than you? These are two people that present themselves
the same way.
With femininity.
Right. Well, you see, here's the thing. There's the aesthetic that has attracted him. So the gay guy, he would be in full outfit, full makeup and everything, and may actually put in a bit more effort to look prettier than I. Just because the guy is attracted to that does not mean that he is any less straight or anything, because he is looking for a feminine image. And so he may see more of that in the gay guy, basically the drag queen, than he would see in me as a trans woman.
Right, but
then what is going to happen is that as the interaction goes on, at some point the gay man is going to take off all of that makeup. He's going to take off the outfit. There's literally going to be a particular time where that only happens. So he may not go to work dressed as a woman. He may not go to the supermarket dressed as a woman. He may not, let's say if the phone rings.
He can turn it off, is what you're pretty much saying.
Right, he's going to turn it off, whereas I won't.
So if somebody is like turning it on and off or like using it as a costume, then the person that likes them isn't necessarily, say if they're using, say femininity as a costume that they take on and off.
Slow down, because that wrong code started kicking. Go again.
Okay, so if a male likes somebody that resembles a woman and acts like a woman but is a male, right? That person is a male. Right, but he's kind of cross-dressing. If a man likes another man, but that only when he is in costume, he is what?
That's a funny thing. I've never really given that.
That's
what
I'm trying to figure.
I think that's what you're trying to say.
I will admit, I've never given that much thought because I don't know of many cases where there are men who would only be attracted to a drag queen or a cross-dresser while they're in that feminine attire. But I would have to acknowledge that they're attracted to the aesthetic that drag queen or cross-dresser.
But that's like being attracted to Bruce Wayne and not Batman.
More or less, you're attracted to a character, but not the actual person. So it may be the aesthetic that they're presenting.
But you can't. I don't think you could just. All right, to talk simply on sexual orientation, I don't think you could look and say, "Oh, I'm straight" when she's wearing a dress. I'm talking about the gay man in the same scenario. When he's wearing a dress, I'm straight, but I'm no longer attracted to him when he takes it off. That kind of can't just work
like I said, there's the emotional, the intellectual, the physical, and the sexual. So there's only one category that's being entertained, which is the physical aesthetic.
Okay.
But whereas a man would be attracted to me, and I've had men tell me this, you're a very nice woman, you're a cool person to be around. So there's that emotional connection that they're having with me as a woman. There's that intellectual, he's going to think of certain things of the way a man normally would. I think of things the way a woman normally would. And then there's also on top of that the physical. So he's seeing, a soft body, he's seeing breasts, he's seeing a big behind, he's seeing curves in certain places. And then there would also be the sexual, not just the anatomical sexual, but also the behaviors. So, men are going to behave a particular way in bed. Women are going to behave a particular way in bed. So, he may be in bed with me and realize, this is definitely all woman. I don't care what I'm seeing. I'm doing certain things when she's reacting a particular way. There's no playing about that because you're most vulnerable in a sexual situation. So the true you is more or less going to come out.
But what if a male said, though, that the only way that somebody could be straight is if the vagina that he is having sex with is like a biological vagina? Would you say that he would you understand where he's coming from but disagree?
He is not.
Or would he be wrong totally?
I would sit down and say he's not too clear on what is going on. It seems more like he expects. I would understand he has a preference on anatomy. So he would prefer a woman who was born anatomically female. You know, she has the vagina there from birth with a uterus and everything. And it may well be that he wishes to be with that woman because he knows he can have children with her. There are some men who will simply be happy to have a vagina or anything that looks like a vagina.
Right.
Okay? And that's all down to the person's preference within their sexual orientation and how they sexually connect with that. You know, there are some men that they insist it must be a vulva, it must be a vaginal canal. Because you may even have some men that would decide, oh, a woman who has a hysterectomy, that's no use to me. Because he may be thinking of, you know, can this vagina produce children?
Yeah, I know people like that.
Right. So, if anything, the guy who is saying, you know, a man is only straight if he's having sex with a vagina that actually was there from birth on a woman, he's more or less, it may be his preference and it may also be his own ignorance on how anatomy is. Because how is he necessarily going to know? Like I said, there's some surgeries that are done so well that even medical professionals, you know, may think that a transsexual woman has actually had a hysterectomy, where really she's had a what you call in the industry a neo-vagina or new vagina constructed. You know,
Neo-vagina. That's not clean though. That's not clean.
So you know, it's so how is he going to be able to tell a neo-vagina from a biological vagina?
What I would say is this: I would say that for me personally, that I lose attraction if I had to find out that the person that I'm looking at, although they say they would be attractive, if I found out that they're transgender, I'm not.
But you think with you, right? You don't even like weave.
Oh shite.
We don't even like makeup, so it's like I feel like anything.
And so I was about to say that that's his personal preference.
Right, anything that deters you from the natural packages kind of fizz you.
Well,
You was a man that like long natural hair.
no, I like long hair. It doesn't matter if it's beef.
And then you don't like weave.
No.
All right, cool. Don't worry. Tap my way just so.
No, I like anything long.
Yeah.
So if
don't
your
worry
hair
then.
natural and short, I kind of not really.
Right.
It's not your preference.
Well, basically, the way how I would see it for you, that's your preference,
Right.
you know, and there's nothing wrong with that because I've even had I literally had an ex-boyfriend that, you know, he was attracted to me on a physical level, but then the relationship started to take a turn when he got to a point where it's like, you know, I'm going to want kids and you can't give me kids, you know, so don't matter how many surgeries I may have.
The possibility of reproduction in the future,
like,
the fact that I can possibly...
Right.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
And these are things that I also went through in my live video where there will be some men who must insist on having a child that's biologically related to them. They more or less want to see some reiteration of their
You know, we
faith
had that
in that
conversation the other
child.
day with Remorse too, but
You know?
but if we would raise adopted children. Right now where I am, I can't see myself doing that.
My granddad walks like me, my father walks like me, and I kind of want to see that happen.
again.
Exactly. You know, so
that's the
depending on how you would have grown up and then to the expectations that you're given as a child, you're being told go and have children and it's explained to you how you have children. You have sex, she gets pregnant, 9 months later a baby is born and the baby carries genetic traits of both mother and father. So most people don't even think about adoption. However, there are some couples that for one reason or another they cannot have children. I have at least 2 friends that they have something called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And even though they have, you know, functioning uteruses and ovaries, they can have sex like rabbits left and right, and the child is either not catching into the lining or it catches and then it miscarries later. And so sometimes the surgical procedures are correct that are ridiculously expensive and invasive. And so they may have to face the possibility of adopting a child.
Yeah.
But because people don't really go into that possibility of what if Mary can't have a baby the old-fashioned way? She may have to go to the children's home and adopt a baby. You know, people don't really look at that.
I get what you're saying, and I think my own natural feelings are a bit hypocritical, because even though I just said that the possibility of reproduction, if I found out the reason why somebody can't get pregnant is because it's something like PCOS, I don't think I would lose attraction for them. But if it was something like the reason they can't get pregnant is because they were anatomically male before, I would lose attraction.
Well,
so I don't know.
It's a simple. Your situation is very easily explained. It's just like how you would have say for me as a trans woman, I have a friend, she's 80-something, and she has a daughter who recently came out as lesbian, even though she has 2 children, and she's a grandmother.
Something?
No, this is her. Okay, let me start over. I have a friend who's 80-something. Her daughter.
Oh, okay.
So even though this daughter, she's a grandmother and she has, 2 kids, she's in a relationship with a woman. And, my 80-something-year-old friend is like, I really, it's clear she's not comfortable with that. However, she knows that I'm trans. She knows that I'm going through hormone therapy. She knows that I have, put moves in place to have surgery and what have you. And she's perfectly fine with me. She could, sit the entire day with me and talk and we eat together, no problem. And it's as simple as this. I am not hitting as close to home to her as her daughter.
She knows you as Alexa. She knows her daughter.
She actually knew me before my transition, years before my transition. So she's seen the entire process. But because I am not related to her, I am not, a part of her family. It's not hitting that close to home that she has to deal with it.
But that,
so
go ahead.
For you now, with the whole concept of, I think I would lose attraction. I'm not saying that what you're saying is false or whatever, but the fact that you realize that it may be a bit hypocritical, that you would feel one way, but you could understand it another way, it is simply because it may not have hit home to you. I've literally had cases, I've even had some situations where, a guy is interested in me and we're talking and I'm like, I literally had a case where a guy took an interest in me earlier this year and he's a bit younger than I. And I sat down and I said, but you're only 22, I'm 24. Isn't the idea of kids going to come up to you at some point? Because, I can't give you kids. And I don't know if he was just so over the moon to be seeing a trans woman, or if he just wasn't putting much thought into it. But he said, oh, that's not a problem, But who knows? When that moment comes, he's going to know for sure, okay, am I willing?
No condoms.
And the fucking
well, he didn't
empty. When that time comes, he's going to be able to realize, okay, do I really, is it that it's going to be a big deal for me to have children that I'm going to see my face in them? Or am I going to, put that option aside and decide, let us adopt and raise a child together? You never know until that situation comes. But what I wanted to challenge in the live video was how there are a lot of people that are bashing straight men and saying that they can't really be straight if they're seeing someone who is anatomically male at some point, because they're not really looking at the sort of emotional bonding that's going on. It is, at the end of the day, the majority of the men who've dated me, especially in recent years, they see me and it's like, she's a beautiful woman,
But it's only recently that we started thinking of sexual orientation as something other than sex. So, as we said, vagina fells or whatever, you straight because you like vagina is never being you straight because you like women.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because we focus so much on the sexual behavior.
Right.
So, and hence why, this is also why a lot of people get very confused when they come across bisexuals, because we sit down and we focus on the sexual behavior. We figure, okay, straight men like vagina, straight women like penis, gay men like penis or ass, and lesbian women like vagina. But, we don't realize, there may be some persons that they may not even be focusing on the genital aspect of it. I have a number, and that's why we're even now realizing something called pansexuality, which isn't just, being bisexual, but you would have, say, a straight woman who may be, she has her husband, let's say a straight married woman, she's married, has a child. She may have feelings for women as well. She may even see a trans man or a trans woman and find them attractive as well.
I don't see there's any bisexuals and pan. I don't understand the difference, sorry.
Okay, with bisexuality, it's really falling within the gender binary. So cisgender people, so like yourself and Marcus and Mosley and
right.
You were born men, you see yourselves as men, you live your lives as men.
Okay, cool.
Okay, let's say, who was that skinny girl that was with us the last time? What's her name? Skinny Rasta girl.
Kashira?
I don't think that was
Nyasha?
Yes, Nyasha. But Nyasha, okay? She was born female. She was born skinny. Oh, shit.
Okay. All right.
She was born female. She identifies as a woman.
Skinny.
I hate myself right now. She was born female. She identifies as female. She identifies as a woman, and she lives her life that way.
Yeah.
So you, Marcus, and Ayasha, you're cisgender.
Right.
Okay. Whereas I'm transgender. I was born male, but I identify as a woman. I see myself as female, and so I live my life as that. Now, a bisexual person would not normally have any sort of sexual attraction to a trans woman.
But
they may or they may not.
If the term is about the vibe, like we just established, to be straight is more about the emotional connection than just you like pussy. So if a bisexual person likes a trans person, why is that now a new term?
Well, because you see, it kind of expands even further. So it expands to trans persons and even persons who don't identify within the gender binary, who you would call asexual. So they identify as neither male nor female. They're just a person.
As I said, like I think we talked with Lucy, this is so much information to expect the general public to grasp one time.
It is a lot.
But you just explained
it.
It's a lot
because we spent hundreds, thousands of years thinking of the man and woman, male and female gender binary. And even though, and now mind you, trans women, we're nothing new. We've been around for just as long, if not longer. You know, asexual people, same thing. But we are now coming to understand who these people are, how they operate within the world. And as we realize, you know, just like anybody else, they will seek love, they will seek companionship, and there are persons who will seek love and companionship with them. But because it is not the typical heterosexuality, it's not the typical homosexuality, it's not the typical bisexuality, this is where now, for now, we've just put the sweeping label of queer onto it, and we're now picking down and figuring out how many
queer is all of them?
Queer is just a blanket term.
You got blankets, no? You got blanket terms?
Blanket term, umbrella term, a grand sweeping generalization that we give to persons who may not fit within the typical ideas, but we're just not sure how to put them.
Do you agree with the whole, like, 60-something genders?
60-something, I mean,
or
I honestly...
70-something like that.
I don't understand how you present yourself attributes to what gender you are.
Okay. Gender is the social expectation of your behavior and your life.
Okay, I can
based
see
upon
that.
what sex you were born.
Right. Yeah.
So you will hear, you know, men are supposed to be strong, women are supposed to be gentle and caring. You have your lumberjack versus your seamstress.
Right.
All of that is gendering based on the sex of the person. Okay? And there are varying degrees to which you can express your gender. So just like how you have a trans man, which is someone who is born female but identifies as a man and they will live their life as a man. But then you have a stud lesbian where they behave in a masculine fashion but they still identify as a woman and they still live their life as a woman, you know. And then you have, you know, so many varying degrees. It's not like steps. It's not a flat plane. It is all a moving curve.
But my thing is that it just seems to be getting more and more letters that are added on, or more and more like.
All right, let me put it this way.
The front is a blanket term that is in the term, kind of confuses me.
Let me put it this way. You have cats and dogs.
Right.
Okay. With the cats, you have your Persian, you have your Manx, you have your Maine Coon, you have your Egyptian hairless cat. You have all these different breeds of cats. With dogs, you have your Doberman Pinscher, your Rottweiler, your Shiba Inu, your Akita. You have all these different breeds of dogs.
Huh? She don't like that.
I know.
Shiba Inu is a cute little kind of Japanese poodleish kind of dog.
But yeah, okay.
So, you know, you have all these varying types. And we can sit down and understand.
Glass.
It's just like how you get up and you say, my dog is missing, and the first thing you ask, what kind of dog is it?
Right.
You know? Likewise, you will say, you know, just like how you have different personality traits, you're going to have different expressions of gender and sexuality.
Okay.
You know, so, you know, it will very well come to a point where someone will say, well, I like women. Okay, what kind of women do you like? And right now we think of tall women, short women, fat women. We're now going to realize, okay, well, I like trans women who've gone through transition, trans women who haven't gone through transition, a trans woman who's had surgery, who hasn't had surgery, so on and so forth. And it's not like we're coming up with some new invention. It was always there. We're just now understanding it.
Okay, I want to move on to something else, but the only thing for me is that if there is like, say like, people that are pointing over it's like an infinite number of like things to add on and stuff.
Like everyone
so everybody you can now subjectively choose if you want to create something for yourself. But if you keep stretching out that, eventually it just comes down to people being individuals and then everybody's individual place in the spectrum isn't really part of a category. So then if that's the case, what's the point of having gender at all? It's just a matter of being an individual.
Well, you see, here's the thing. Gender was really... It was more or less society's way of being able to treat people differently. I mean, okay, let me put it this way. You will have... No, for example, you sit down, like how you have at one point, nursing was a woman's job.
Yeah.
You know, you have male nurses.
Yeah.
Teaching, 100 years ago, teaching was a man's job. Now women outnumber men in schools.
Right.
You know? And because we put so many gender labels, it was just so we could decide how men and women are going to live their lives based upon this idea of who is more physically superior or who is physically inferior.
Thing. There is a difference. You cannot have... I do not think it's remotely reasonable to have a trans woman in the Olympics competing with...
Yeah, what do you think about that,
with biological women? Well, not about natural born...
Yeah, we think about trans
biological
people.
women.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
I mean... The Olympics, they have their various means of testing to, see what hormone levels are like. Is it that the trans woman, for example, because I get where you're talking about where it's mainly like trans men or even, no, let's go back with the trans women. With trans women competing with other women, you're going to be looking at things like physical strength. People train and there would be certain changes that testosterone would bring about, whether you went through the changes of testosterone through puberty or whether you're injecting it or taking a pill, testosterone will make changes. Okay? It is not necessarily the trans woman's fault if she turns out to be 6'2", 180 pounds, and can run 2 miles an hour faster than the other women. Okay, that is just what the testosterone did to her body then.
It's still an unfair competition. So, for some things, you need that distinction.
Understood. And that is where there will be certain categories that they will put trans women in based on, what is their medical history. So, for example, there are going to be certain changes that hormone therapy will actually undo. Not fully, but it undoes it to a certain point. So things like your bone structure is going to change. So your muscle mass is going to change. So where you would have had a trans woman who maybe before her transition, she could have run faster than most women. After taking hormones, she loses that muscle tone. She loses some of that bone density, and she cannot propel herself as quickly as others. Okay.
To me, the difference is so great though that I don't know if she loses all of her male advantages, biological advantages. I mean,
she may not lose all of them,
to the point that she
at the same
could race
time,
with women and it's fair though.
Well, she may not lose all of her male advantages, as you would put it, but at the same time, it is not as if the other women that she's racing with aren't training. They're going to be pushing themselves, trying to match certain
before we move on, Kofi.
That whole Olympics thing is a very confusing thing, I will admit.
Yeah. That's when I gotta say that that I think we've gone beyond like just sense. Let me put it this way: I say in the 100-meter race, I think the woman that has the world record, that was in 1988. That time is 10.49, something like that, right? No woman has ever run that fast. That time can't qualify
for the male, right?
For the males.
It can't even make
men. They got boys in high school that just beat that. There is such a huge difference between the differences between men and women in terms of bone density, muscle density, hand-eye coordination, agility, speed, strength, etc. That to say that even if somebody starts taking hormones like at 25, right? You still have all of those years.
All the years of testosterone,
of muscle and bone. That can't leave.
But don't forget too, these athletes are training
but
to
no
get
matter
to
how
a
hard
particular
you train,
standard.
you can't get to that point.
But no, you're missing what I'm saying. There are some athletes who would have trained for it, and so they're okay. For example, I don't do sports. Okay, there are going to be, if I go into a competition amongst men, I am going to lose hands down in just about every category.
Of course.
Because not only, and this is even before the transition, because those men would have trained to lift certain weights, they would have trained to have certain techniques in running that I would not have trained for.
Agreed.
So let us say now, if I, as a trans woman who's never trained before, now decides I want to train and get into sports, okay? I can't compete with the men.
But you're not accustomed. I'm saying, like, if you have an athlete that was born male, but
So then they were training in the males category before.
Right,
and
at 18
well, in that case, I honestly can't answer any questions.
Right,
I was more or less talking about, training aside, there's certain changes that are going to happen.
Yeah, I get
that. Then,
what you're saying,
training is going to have to put you back in the game for it.
Didn't that happen?
Yes, Fallon Fox. I think she was in MMA and she a transgender woman that was fighting against women, beat women bad, not like beat them bad, like injure them like bad.
It's not that we try not to be progressive or anything.
Right, I understand that there are going to be certain categories where the concerns will come up. And I am not going to act like I'm an expert on it, but I can only speculate and try to theorize on what could and could not be. But ultimately, those are going to have to be discussions which the athletes and the various oversight bodies of the Olympic teams and athletic teams are going to have to sit down and figure out, okay, how do we go about it?
Slight tangent. I know Marcus want to move on, but there's a small question. On your passport, you changed your name. Like, can you legally say that you're a female?
Well, that's the funny thing, because here in Barbados, even though I can completely change my name, there's no legal provision for or against me changing my gender.
I figured not.
It's just something that was not considered.
Yeah, so, I figured that.
I mean, it does not matter, how feminine I look, what surgical procedures I have. Even if a doctor goes and says, I have observed these characteristics, it's going to have to be a whole...
So, let me say, I don't know, I'm asking you, I don't know if this is a stupid question or whatever, but you go to Canada, you marry and you register as a female.
Well, of course, Canada is going to have certain, and other countries, not just Canada, but other countries will have certain provisions that will allow a trans woman or trans man to change their gender as they see necessary.
Okay. But then when you come down here and know you're...
Well, I mean, if I come back here, if I can present the documentation that I would have acquired in Canada, because obviously they're going to be notary publics, they're going to be the same persons that would have overseen me changing my name here, and the same processes is going to be the same thing over there. It's just that they're going to be able to change something that I could not change here. So let's say I go overseas and I marry, the man of my dreams, and I become Mrs. Whoever, and I have the marriage certificate saying that I was a spinster. I'm even able to go and update my birth certificate. No, spinster is in a woman who's now been married.
Never heard that before?
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm able to go and update my birth certificate. I could come down here and say, well, look, I was able to have my birth record updated and then see what can happen. But right now in Barbados, that's just not something that they've ever given any thought to. So legally, I am unheard of legally.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about this. I think it came up between this year and last year. This year, that a lot of people had issues saying that only trans people should be allowed to play trans characters in movies. What is your opinion on that?
Well, because I understand where they're coming from, because we've had so many cases. We normally want the representation to be accurate. So, for example, people would take offense to a white person playing a black person or an Asian person's role.
Yes.
Okay, because there are plenty of black and Asian actors who could have auditioned and be considered for that role. And plus, two, in terms of the character portrayal, it may not necessarily be so riddled with the stereotypes that other people may think of black people and Asians, but it's going to be more accurate as to that person's personality as a black person or as an Asian person.
Right.
Okay? Whereas now, in the case of a trans person, so for example, you have Simone's Place, and Simone was played by a man, dressed in drag to give off that character. And I observed, because I even auditioned for that role of Simone and I didn't get it, and I was like, how the hell a trans woman gone in for the role of a trans woman and loses to a man, and not even a gay man, So it was like, at first I was kind of offset, but I rationalized it down to they wanted an experienced actor, and I was not an experienced actor.
Right.
But still, it would have helped to at least have had, even if it wasn't just me as a trans woman who was auditioning.
Here's the thing, though, like, I have to disagree with you when you're confused of why they would pay an experienced actor, because you can't be good and bad at acting. Well, acting black, you cannot act black because as you said, there are certain things you will go through as a black person, but as a trans woman, at the end of the day, your goal is to be feminine.
Right. Now
so can a woman play a trans woman?
Here's what I was talking about in terms of an experienced actor. Actors here in Barbados, when they go to BCC or our bar center and they learn theater, they're taught certain techniques and practices that go across the board. So when I say an experienced actor, someone who can do the Stanislavski, the emotional memory and all of that there, okay? They would be more looking for someone who can do that technical aspect of acting as opposed to someone who can embody that character. Okay?
Right.
So they would have, while I can embody the character of a trans woman because that is my reality, you know, I can be me. They want somebody who, however they envision Simone to be, can do that.
I get what you're saying, but I just know, like, from my experience, I could not act a DJ with red hair and locks. I couldn't act myself.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not a good actor. I'm not calling you a bad actress. Obviously, I've never seen anything you've ever done. But
you can't pretend to be you. You are you.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that I have to now play a role, I have to now put myself into the character of Kofi. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to be sad Kofi without being sad.
What my opinion on it is that I think it's offensive to assume that because two people share experiences in one aspect of life that means that the other person can embody that person. Like, for example, the individual experiences that make you Alexa, who says that I can embody that? I mean, the fact that you went through, you know, whether it's your mother's passing or whether it's the fact that you got attacked and stuff. Say that I was a transgender say I was a transgender woman.
Right.
I did not experience any of that stuff. So for people to just simplify it to just because two people are transgender that means that they can do a better job. I really don't agree.
Right. And that's why I went to the route of they would have wanted an actor they would have written out Simone's character to have certain experiences. So she has her degree, she runs a business, you know, she may have experienced certain things, you know. Simone has done certain things that I have not done yet in my life, you know, and she would have come from a certain background that I may not have necessarily come from.
Yeah.
So they would have wanted somebody who can look into how who can look in, can do whatever research on how someone from those backgrounds and those experiences can behave and give an accurate portrayal as an actor, you know, as opposed to be, you know, just focusing on the fact that, she's trans. It's not just that she's trans, but whatever experiences, and can we find someone who can emulate those experiences?
Agreed.
That's what took me off of my shock of not having gotten the role of Simone.
Right.
Because I was like, okay, you know what? When I sat down, I watched it and I said, let me see how it could go. Of course, I have my qualms about it because here it is as a trans woman, that she has this deep voice and, you know, she's doing all these different things. I don't have a deep voice, you know, so it's like, okay, it had its ups and its downs.
I think that this goes to the actor not doing the background research enough to embody the character properly, as opposed to them not being a transgender like beforehand.
I don't like the fact that people are comparing it to like when Tom Cruise played The Last Samurai, or Scarlett Johansson recently played the Asian girl. Right. Because I just don't think it is that black and white. When you're crossing like race barriers, it's like
it's not the same thing as sexuality.
I don't think barriers. It is exactly.
Yeah.
Because when I'm watching the movie, I don't think I should be able to watch a movie and be like, okay, well, this person is gay in real life, this person is trans in real life.
Because your character was gay, and you know, so it was like.
I didn't think you were gonna do that.
A school principal or something that was on the down low. And you know, I sat down, and even then in that case, I looked at that and I'm like, okay, so there's a straight man playing the role of a gay man involved in a relationship with a man who's on the down low, and I'm more than certain that actor is also straight. So it's like, you know, it was, again, it's a matter of, can these persons
embody the role?
Embody the role based on the techniques that are expected of actors, as opposed to being able to live it out again on stage.
I agree on that. Yeah.
So,
okay.
I mean, so that's what kind of helped me come off of my shock at, oh my gosh, look at this. There's a whole bunch of straight people playing LGBT community members. What's up with this?
Yeah, I find that, I don't know if it's like identity politics in America and whatever, but things are getting very strange. I feel like things are getting very strange.
And it's almost like people looking for handouts. Like, it's like you audition for this role as a, not using Alexa as an example, but the same thing. Like we said, she was upset or whatever, and she appealed to the community, and they're like, this should be played by a trans. But why?
Okay, by the way, what we should say though is that if you want to say that trans people don't get enough roles, don't get casted enough for on-screen roles. That is one thing. That is actually a legit
true.
problem.
Yeah, I get it.
But the solution is not that trans people get all
Because for example, when I auditioned for Simone's Place, lost that role to Shannon, and on the other hand, when Shakira brought out Next Payday. I actually auditioned for something else. I'm not sure if she wrote it, but I think Stephanie Chase had something to do with it. I auditioned, it was Too Smart. I auditioned for a role that ultimately Alison Hines got. And they were pleased enough with my audition to realize, okay, you know what, here's another role that we can, put you in. And so they did Next Payday and the character Parsley Thornbush, which I believe was based off of Rosemary Allen. And they put me in that role, and I did fairly well with that. I mean, they did a couple of things with it to play with Rosemary's character. So on the one hand, you have her prim and proper sitting down with her oversized, outfits. And then there were moments where she just kind of, went kind of loopy, and I was able to do that because they wanted to see, okay, she has the ability that she can do this, but she can also flip characters and do that, because that's why I demonstrated in the Too Smart audition that they said, we're giving her that role. And I asked Stephanie, I said, so when's the audition? She said, oh, there's no audition. We'll just send you the script. Sure enough, I got a call from Shakira or one of her assistants to do the wardrobe check. And the next thing you know, the script is there in my email inbox.
My friend Shakira Forrest, I think she played a major role in the Payday movies. I ain't seen none yet, B.
Really?
I have bought the Payday DVD.
I have the first Payday DVD. I don't have the second one. And let me tell you, I would love to. I saw the second one when they premiered it. They did the first premiere at Ciroc.
I've heard nothing but good things. I don't know how
we do so much shite here.
It was so funny.
I've heard nothing but great things about that, and it was just, I don't know how I can see it.
I guess this is my last thing on my list of things. How are things going with the buggery laws?
Well, we did the ISCHR petition. We submitted it, but what's happening with that?
You could English that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Start from the beginning.
Okay, all right. Let me give some background. It's not just the buggery law that we challenged. We challenged two sections of the Sexual Offences Act 1992. One is Section 9, which deals with the act of buggery, which really was never described in any mechanical sense as to how it's committed, despite you have a mechanical description of how rape is committed, whether it's penetration through the vagina or through the anus, or you force something into someone's mouth and all that there. Buggery never, in over 200 years, had any... Yeah. If you look up Section 3, it literally says... rape is committed where someone inserts...
Right, but buggery just ain't got a description?
It doesn't. It just... Because let's go back to, I think it was 1865, under the Offences Against the Persons Act, the original law that was imported here through colonialism. It just says, whosoever commits the abominable crime of buggery, whether with mankind or animal... Okay, and it explains how the sentencing goes. There's very detailed sentencing, but it just says buggering a man or an animal. It's like, okay, how do you bugger? When they say mankind, they're not just meaning men. It's men or women. So it's like, okay, how does that happen? What is it that you're doing?
All right, no worry.
But now what they did in the 1992 Act, first of all, they split the law into two different charges. So you have buggery and bestiality, which is Section 10, which is fucking animals. And where it was that in Section 62 of the old Act, there was this whole slew of charges is very black and white between buggery and bestiality. Buggery, you get life imprisonment.
What?
You get life imprisonment. Apparently, according to what the act is considered to be, you fuck somebody up the ass, you get life imprisonment.
Somebody or...
you fuck Farmer Joe Cow, you only get 10 years.
Pause. Rewind.
When they said buggery, they mean have sex, when a man has sex with a man?
Or anal sex.
Well, originally it was any kind of anal sex. So whether it was a man fuck a woman, a man fuck a man, or you just push a foreign object up the person's ass.
No, but male to female, that is also...
Buggery under Section 9 is supposed to be whether a man fucks a woman up the ass or a man fucks another man up the ass.
Like, if I got a girl and like we doing whatever we're doing, and she got, what do they say, whatever we're doing about this girl?
Well, toys, that can come under the other law that we challenge, which is serious
indecent.
Hold a minute. Trust me, the laws get very fucked up.
But what killing me, right? I was going to bring it earlier. Technically, oral sex between men and women? Are we saying?
I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Oh, all right, cool. This is funny.
Right. So, Section 9, which criminalizes buggery, gives you 10 years imprisonment. Now, this is meant to be... Sorry, life imprisonment, whereas bestiality is 10 years.
And then you get it.
Imagine, you get
That's so funny. That's so funny.
You get less time in jail for fucking farmer Joe cow
That is crazy.
than you would get for fucking him.
That is ridiculous. Yeah, that's foolishness. That's
That's
foolishness.
nonsense.
So watch this, okay?
Fresh bugs again.
Now,
I don't understand.
Now, why we found it necessary to challenge the law, I realized that as time went along, for instance, 1992, the law wasn't necessary. It was, yes, being used to prosecute gay men, but it was also being used the wrong way because there were men who were molesting children, mostly men molesting boys, and they were being charged with buggery, even though Section 4, which deals with sex with a minor, that should have really been the charge.
Right, but the sentence for... There's my logic behind it. I just playing devil's advocate here. The charge for having sex with a minor, statutory rape, I don't think that's going to be as long as this life that you're talking about.
No, I think it's like 15 years or something like that. So they were, for the sake of being very punitive and the convenience of the punitive nature or wanting to punish somebody, they would have given the stiffer charge of buggery, which would have had a life sentence. And the funny thing is, nobody who's been convicted of buggery has actually served a life sentence. There's actually one person named Woodall. He's been charged repeatedly with buggery. And he is out in a matter of a couple of years.
Why is it cash?
This is like
No,
in Woodall's case, he was molesting young boys.
Oh,
so they would have gone and complained to like their grandparents or their parents, or somebody would have caught him. In one case, it was a young boy. He went to molest this kid out by where you know where.
When you say young boy, you could give me an age?
Like I think like 9 or some shit. A young fella, primary school kid.
Nah.
You know where Lantats used to have their office there in Oystons? Apparently, he took the kid behind there and tried to assault him. And the kid got away, ran home and told his grandmother. And Woodall was charged under the law. The kid was examined by a doctor and, to tell if he had been anally penetrated, if there was any discharge and whatnot. And this incident happened in like 1996 or something. And by 2000 or thereabouts, he was out again and got charged again. And he's been, I'm dead serious. You're going through the archives of the Supreme Court, their court files, and you're seeing Woodall's name coming up over and over at least 10 times between the 90s and the mid 2000s. Okay? But here's the thing. He should have been charged under Section 4, which is, molesting a minor.
Yeah.
They charge him under Section 9, which is the act of gay sex. And it has led people to believe, through his precedent as well as a number of other people's precedents, that, buggery means you're interfering with young children, when really that is not the case.
I ain't gonna lie. Up till a couple of years ago, I thought that was the case.
Oh, really?
I thought buggery was because I never knew the word. I just thought what saying is here?
Yeah.
It's like he buggers. You never hear a bug a grown man. That don't make no sense.
I thought it was homosexual sex. That's what I thought it was.
Right, buggery is really homosexual sex, but people have used it to refer to molesting small children. So that's why people had all this panic about challenging the law, because they said, we need to protect our kids. And I literally went with a lawyer. We went to the Supreme Court, looked through the archives, read through the case law, and we realized, but no, this law has been used wrong. They should have charged them under Section 4, and they're charging all the child molesters.
But I don't understand this. The maximum sentence is life. How is he getting 4 years?
I don't know. Ask the judge. They're giving him like 5 years, 6 years, little pitcher sentences.
Can't they do?
And every few years he's getting charged again.
Shouldn't it be both charges? Shouldn't it be the minor charge and the buggery charge?
No, because the minor charge, it covers whether you have sex with a child anally, vaginally, shove something in their mouth. If you've been touching them inappropriately, it covers that too. Section 4 covers that. In fact, I think there's, and there are even other sections like sections 5 and 6, which cover things like incest. So you're screwing your brother, your sister, your cousin. I think it actually cut off if you screw your third cousin or your great grandparent.
Wait, the cousin's illegal?
Third cousin or your great grandparent?
Not saying that I would, but I didn't know cousin would be illegal, like against the law.
If you know that person's your cousin, if you know that person's your cousin,
how do you prove that you?
Well, that's the thing, because in the West Indies, we have this history of people go and they have kids and they don't tell anybody.
Yeah, everyone in Island in Barbados.
Right.
I mean,
so in such a case, that's why they say if you knowingly, so you know this person is related to you, you've met their family and they said this is your first cousin or this is your second cousin or this is your brother, and you still have sex with them anyway, you've committed incest. But if you didn't know, let's say if you entertain a relationship for like 5 years and then somebody comes out, well, look at you fucking your brother though.
Right.
In that case, you didn't didn't know until then, so there wasn't a crime. But if you continue afterwards, then it's a crime.
Do they still, like, in 2018 enforce the buggary laws though? Like, is that still like a
not really.
Right. I heard, right? I don't know how factual this is, but I heard, like, you know, when you park out and the police come looking at you.
Yeah.
I heard, because you ever got catch by police?
Nah.
I got caught like a couple times.
A couple times?
Yeah.
I mean, does they actually pull up and talk to you?
Yeah. Sorry. When
what are you doing?
Yeah. When they're good, cool. That's it. Nothing happens to me.
He's especially, like, asked the girl, like, how's she doing?
Nah.
They will ask both you, like.
I actually don't think, you know, there was like only time I once he talked to the girl and he didn't talk to me that time.
Right.
He
I guess because they wanted to make sure that she wasn't being attacked
that's why,
or something.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
That was once. And then she was just like, yeah.
They had the time that...
So I heard that it was because they're looking for men.
Oh, 2 men?
Yeah.
Oh, so they were like just doing a sweep and making sure.
I don't know if this is a factual thing, but I heard that's why they look.
Yeah, I heard that a man was raping a woman in a car, and they came up and they said if wanna good, and he said yes, but they didn't know that she was, you know,
under attack.
Yeah. So they drove off, and then I thought that was why that's the reason why they asked, right? But yeah, though. Yeah.
But back to the law, though. So we realized, okay, Section 9 was being used in a very fucked up manner, and it has fomented this attitude where Bajans think that if you're gay, you're going to molest children, and that's not the case at all.
Right.
And then my friend Morrissey told me, okay, let's look at Section 12, because Section 12 is talking about serious indecency, but it's looking very nebulous. So we looked at serious indecency, and serious indecency mostly came about in cases where persons were being groped and whatnot. But it was so nebulous in how they use it. They were using it to talk about persons being groped. Like, say, a teenage girl is on the bus and a man is touching up her ass or something. They would have charged him with serious indecency. But when you look at the law, it literally says, and it explains, serious indecency is any act involving the use of the genitals to arouse or gratify sexual pleasure.
So masturbation.
Masturbation on another person. You know, sucking dick, eating pussy, you know, lesbians having sex with one another, what we call scissoring. All these different things, once it is not penis to vagina intercourse, it falls under serious indecency.
That's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
That is ridiculous.
So literally imagine, and the thing is,
nice serious week?
But here's the funny thing.
According to getting head from a woman is illegal.
Yeah.
It is illegal. And eating pussy is illegal according to the law, because you're using the genitals to arouse or gratify a sexual desire.
So what if
and because it was such a selective way in how it was enforced, it was mainly used to prosecute lesbians who engaged in sex with one another, or in the case of a young girl who was being preyed upon by an older woman, again creating this idea that gay men and lesbians prey on children, when really there's a whole legislation that covers that, and there are even other sections of the law that not just cover incest, but also covers, for example, if you have someone who's mentally challenged and you have sex with them, there's a law for that as well. Yeah. So a person who's mentally subnormal, so if they're what we call retarded, or if they have cerebral palsy, or even if it's someone who's been brain damaged in an accident, if you have sex with them, that's a criminal offense.
I just wanted to point, once again, like, I don't even think this was a study that could ever be made, but from doing this podcast, the majority of homosexual people we've had on, not just this podcast, my personal life experiences, the majority of homosexual people that I know have been molested at a young age. So I'm not saying like there's a causation, but I think that's
correlation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say that there's a correlation. I mean, yes, there are some persons who would have been molested at some point.
And then but then there is like the fact that people who were molested tend to be the molesters.
At some point, because depending on what support mechanisms they have. Here's how I see it. I have had persons in my family who've been molested at a younger age, and they're heterosexual. We're heterosexual, okay? So how come it is that you can have someone, to try to correlate sexual abuse with deviant sexuality, I don't see that flying, because you can have someone who, let's say you have a girl who was molested by a man, and she still turns out to be heterosexual. You can have a boy who was molested by a woman or a man, and they still turn out heterosexual.
All I can say is specifically with men like boys that I know, same thing as Kofi, and I find it, and I don't like to use anecdotal evidence to make a point, like to generalize, but I just find it really, really weird, man, that a lot of gays that I know, they were molested when they were younger, and then I don't know if it like. I was just gonna say something stupid. I don't know if I was gonna say awaken the gay. I don't know if
And in which case, because that's why I've had to kind of interrogate this a little bit, because it's like, if that's going to be catalytic to your sexual orientation,
right?
I mean, because like I said, you have some persons who've been molested and they still turn out heterosexual, and then you have some persons who are molested and they still turn out to be homosexual.
Yeah, true.
I also have to wonder. I will understand there will be certain traumas. So, like, say you have had an abusive sexual history before, and it will impact how you would feel interacting with a particular sex. But I just don't see it as being that catalytic as to make someone decide or turn out to be, I'm not going to have sex with this particular sex again.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't see it fitting together.
I just don't.
But if it's catalytic, it just plays into the argument of either you were or you weren't. But this particular incident may have made you realize, is this, something that you would want to experience under different circumstances, or is it that you realize, okay, this is definitely not something you want to experience under different circumstances, under any circumstances.
The next argument that has to be made is, it could also be that it's only the gays that were molested when they were younger are willing to speak out about it, as opposed to people that are straight. Because people that are straight could have been molested too, but just because, their masculinity and heterosexuality, they would not want to say, straight men, they would not want to actually openly say.
There's plenty of straight women who've recounted stories of being sexually abused as children, or even being raped as teenage
not just
girls.
men that were molested by women don't see it as they were molested, They think like, oh, as a Dan, I was having sex at 11.
That's the best thing to happen.
When like, nah, you were raped. You were literally raped.
Someone was grooming you, exactly.
Yeah,
agreed.
And they don't realize the sort of psychological effects that's happening from them.
Agreed.
So where that whole, I understand sexual abuse to be abuse, but I do not see it as anything catalytic to a person's sexual orientation. It may influence their behavior and how they may interact with a particular sex, but I don't see that as something that is going to definitively mold how that person is going to be attracted to one sex or the other. For the simple fact of, you have plenty of young, I think they say like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 women are raped at some point in their lifetime. Most of these women, it's a ridiculous statistic. It's like more women than you think have been molested or raped at some point. But yet you see a lot of women, they get married. Some of these same women who've recounted stories of rape, they get married to men. They have children. They, have wonderful, happy marriages. Yeah. And if it is that rape makes you into a sexual deviant, how come they're not lesbian? Likewise, you have the men who've been sexually molested, and they're still heterosexual, and they love women to death. Whatever the case is. So I don't try to correlate the two, because I don't see that happening.
I get what you mean. But I don't even know if the camera got cut out. I don't even know what time it is.
I asked Mo.
It's almost 5:30.
Yeah, we was
already. But all right, well, safe. I just try and make sure that I hit everything that.
If there's anything else,
I think everything. Honestly, that I wanted to say. Yeah. Alexa, thanks for coming through.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, yeah.
Finally get to turn up for my birthday.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it with us and sharing having a drink. We can do a little toast.
Yes.
Anyway,
you done it to yours.
Yeah.
This is the I Know Podcast. I fuck Gavin.
Thanks for watching the I Know Podcast, information, knowledge, and observation.
Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at I Know Podcast. We'll see you soon.